Greetings, my friends, and welcome to another episode of The World According to Waz. It's Monday, January 23rd, 2023, and I hope you're all doing well. I'd like to start off today by talking about Atlanta and all the crazy stuff that's going on down there. You may or may not know about it because, of course, the mainstream media doesn't talk about things they don't want you to know about. But Atlanta has some Antifa nonsense going on. Apparently, in Atlanta, they decided to create a police training center. And Antifa was not happy about this. So the site that they designated for the training center, they haven't started building it or anything like that. Antifa took up shop. It's in this forested area. And they have Antifa members basically living there and terrorizing anybody who comes into the area. And the police tried to go in there and clear out the area, which obviously makes sense. And one of the Antifa members shot one of the cops. The cop went to the hospital. But after they shot this one particular police officer, police, of course, retaliated and ended up killing the Antifa terrorist who shot the cop. Well, Antifa didn't like this at all, so they've declared war on the police officers in Atlanta, and they've just gone mad. The last few days, I don't know if you've seen this, even social media don't even talk about it much. I mean, on Twitter, luckily on Twitter, you're able to see certain things in videos. I highly recommend following Andy No. I don't know if you're familiar with Andy No. I would look him up and follow him if you want to learn about Antifa and other terrorist organizations around the country that do stuff like this. He's excellent, and he keeps a track of this stuff. He's got videos showing all kinds of stuff, what they do. But anyway, Antifa right now is basically, and it's a small group of members. There's maybe 20, 30 members of Antifa roaming the streets of Atlanta. They're burning down buildings. One guy is just driving by, innocent bystander, driving by in his truck. Antifa firebombs the guy's truck while he's driving in it. I mean, they're burning down buildings. They're going through downtown, smashing windows. This is what terrorism is. Antifa is a domestic terrorist organization. Now, the media, when they talk about this, they, of course, try to portray Antifa as peaceful protesters and demonstrators. They're not protesters and demonstrators. These are domestic terrorists. Antifa terrorizes people. They try to kill people. They just shot a cop who tried to clear out an area. The cops are trying to make the area safe for the people of Atlanta. And Antifa doesn't care. Antifa is now running Atlanta. I don't understand this at all. They've set up an autonomous zone in Atlanta. How in the hell, in 2023, do we still have autonomous zones? Do you remember the autonomous zone in 2020? I believe it was Portland, or was it Seattle? And basically the city there let these rogue morons take over a certain section of the city. They eventually kicked him out. But, with the riots that were happening due to George Floyd dying, BLM, Black Lives Matter organization, which is another terrorist organization. These people aren't protesters. The organization itself, Black Lives Matter, is a domestic terrorist organization. Fires were set everywhere, rioting, trashing buildings, stores. People were being killed. There were people who were murdered in the summer of love in 2020, thanks to Black Lives Matter and their pals Antifa. But getting back to this autonomous zone, why does it even exist? I mean, don't the politicians in Atlanta care about the people of Atlanta? Why aren't the cops going in there and just getting rid of all these terrorists? Why is this allowed to happen? Do you ever notice this stuff always happens in Democrat-run cities? Republican-run cities wouldn't allow this nonsense, and Antifa doesn't even try it because they know they wouldn't get away with it. Antifa and Black Lives Matter, the organization, they're portrayed in the media as peaceful protesters who are merely protesting what the government does. Even though they terrorize things, they burn down buildings, they kill people, they have murdered people. Now contrast this with patriots, what we normally think of as patriots, people who speak up at board meetings in school because they don't like that their children are being taught about sexual things. 5 to 6-year-olds being instructed on how to insert certain objects in the rear end, or being taught about transsexuals and things of this at such a young age. Why in the heck is this going on in public schools? So they're really raising questions at board meetings. And the FBI is coming in and arresting these people and are, labeling them domestic terrorists. But Antifa and Black Lives Matter can literally commit acts of terrorism, and they act as if it's okay. They're not really doing anything wrong. Now that the Republicans control the House of Representatives in D.C., I hope something actually comes about with them being in control. I'm praying they actually do something this time. So far, it's been pretty good the first week or two since Kevin McCarthy has been sworn in as Speaker. They've announced committees. They say they're going to be investigating this, that, and the other thing. I hope they actually do, and I hope actually something comes of it this time. Because we can't allow all this to be happening in our country. All the craziness that's going on. The spying, government spying on us, these roving bands of terrorists. We're talking about Atlanta, these terrorists at Antifa. They arrested like 6 or 7 people, Antifa members. And more than half of them didn't even live in Georgia. These are like roving bands of terrorists. Somebody's funding these people to travel around the country and terrorize the United States of America. Another thing I like to talk about is on Fox News Sunday yesterday. I wasn't really paying that much attention. I was doing other things while I was playing in the background, but I was listening. And they had 2 politicians from the House of Representatives. One was Republican. One was a Democrat. And I had never heard of either one of these people. They sounded like, I guess, what we would call moderates, both of them. And they were talking about the debt ceiling, which comes up all the time because the government spends far too much money. And they're talking about the raising of the debt ceiling. And they were talking about what they refer to as the debt to GDP ratio, and that government spending should be based on the country's GDP. Now, the country's GDP is the gross domestic product for the entire country. It's basically all the money that you and I and everybody else in the country makes. And these people in Washington, D.C. look at our money as their money. In their minds, if we make more money, they believe that they can take more money from us. They believe they have a greater claim to your money than you do, which is obvious. The very fact that when you get paid wherever you work, you get a paycheck, taxes are taken out of your paycheck before you even get it, shows that government believes they're entitled to your money, a certain percentage of it, whatever that percentage happens to be. I wish they would do away with this businesses taking the tax money out and actually force everybody to file themselves weekly, bi-weekly, once a month, once a year. And people would see, it would really hit home when you got to write a check to the federal government and to your state government. You make, say, $20 an hour. So a 40-hour work week, you're clearing $800. And then you see you have to write a check to the federal government for a certain amount of money, check to your state government a certain amount of money, federal income tax, Social Security. And then after that, you see how much you've got left. I wonder how many people would stop paying taxes. I bet you a lot would. That is why government coerces businesses to do this for you. I mean, on one hand, they try to make it look like it makes it easy on you because you don't have to worry about it. But when you don't see it, you don't really see what's being taken out. Most people don't pay attention to that. They just see the bottom line, how much money they're taking home after all the taxes and maybe 401k program, health insurance, or whatever is taken out. They don't really pay that much attention to how much they pay in tax. Obviously, government needs some sort of income to function. But our government is just far too large. Obviously, it spends far too much money. And the talk is always about raising spending, which requires raising taxes. The amount of things we pay, the amount of things we buy that are taxed is ridiculous. And what really upsets me, and should upset you, is the fact that one particular item can be taxed several times. The sale of a particular item. For example, if you go out and buy a brand new car tomorrow, and let's say you pay $30,000 for this new car, and you pay the sales tax on it when you buy it. A week later, you don't like the car. You want to get rid of it. So you sell it, put an ad in the paper. You take a loss on the car, of course. But the person who buys that car from you must then pay tax on the exact same car. Even though you've already paid tax on it once, now it's being taxed twice. And let's say that person drives it for a while. Yeah, I don't really like this car. They sell it, mark the price down, get rid of it. Somebody else buys it. The third person is then paying taxes on that car. That car has now been taxed 3 times. How many times does one item need to be taxed? Isn't one time sufficient? Think of your house. You own a house. You think you own a house. But in reality, the government owns the house. The government owns you. It owns everything that you have, everything that you possess. You know, you may say your home is your castle. Now, let's say you own a home. Let's say you have it paid off completely. It's all paid for. If you don't pay taxes on that house each and every year, even though you bought the house, you've been paying taxes on it for years, property tax I'm talking, government will come and demand your money at some point, the taxes you didn't pay on the land. And if you cannot pay it, in some instances, the government will actually claim your house, which you think you own, sell it, and take the money from the sale of the house to pay the tax, property tax that you did not pay. Now, you bought this piece of land back in the day, and yet you pay tax on it each and every year, no matter how long you've owned it. You owned it for 50 years. Each and every year, you're paying taxes on it. How many times do you have to pay taxes on the land that you bought back in the day? Isn't one time enough? Why are you paying more and more taxes on a piece of land you bought in 1972, for example? It's 2023. You've paid taxes on it each and every year for 50 years. When does this taxation end? It's just insane. We have to stop taxing so much. We need to reduce taxes and drastically reduce spending. This will help the economy greatly. I mean, government is always looking for new and ingenious ways to tax us. Fees are taxes. You know, when you get a permit to build something on your house, you're paying $50, $100, whatever it is. That's another form of taxation. To get your car registered each and every year is a form of taxation. Something's got to give. We can't keep paying all these taxes. At the end of the day, after your payroll taxes are paid, The sales tax, now after you pay your payroll taxes, you end up with so much money afterwards from, your work, your job. Then you go shopping, you pay more taxes. You buy this, that, and the other thing, everything's taxed. At the end of the day, more than half of your paycheck is being spent in taxes in one form or another. Most people don't realize that. That's unacceptable. In a free country, this should not be allowed. And the talk is never about reducing spending. It's about increasing taxation so that the government can spend more. All right, I'm ranting here on the taxation. Taxation is theft, basically. When you're being coerced into doing something, it's basically no different than the mafia coming to you, pointing a gun and saying, give us some protection money. That's what government's doing, in my opinion. And fortunately, more and more people are coming around to this view of things, and that's good. But again, going back to the Republican-controlled Congress, they've talked about how when they're going to increase spending in government from here on out, at least while the Republicans control Congress, they're going to try to institute reductions in spending in other areas so it balances it out. So spending doesn't actually increase. We'll see how that goes. I hope that happens. We need to cut spending, though, across the board. Everything in the federal government, every single program, every single department, agency needs to be cut. I'm talking double-digit cuts. Not just 10%. I'm talking 30, 40, 50%. The federal government is far too large. It just is every aspect of our lives. It's just all over the place. I mean, basically, the states are wards of the federal government these days, and it's supposed to be the other way around. Well, I'm going to sign off for now. And if you like what you hear, please subscribe to my channel. And I've been posting some videos here and there, podcasts. And, there's no set schedule for me to post podcasts. A lot of people who do podcasts do them, say, Monday through Friday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, once a week, twice a week. With me, it's going to be whenever. Whenever something strikes me and I want to talk about it, I will talk about it. And if you guys are interested, if you have any questions for me, please leave some comments on the video. Also, I have an email linked for this YouTube channel. The email address is according to Woz. The word is according to, and WOZ, all one word, at gmail.com. Feel free to email me at any point, anytime you want to say hi. Tell me you like what I'm doing. Tell me I suck. Ask me some questions. Maybe you want me to talk about something. It's all good. Feel free to email me. And I'm also on Twitter. According to Woz is my handle. So you can look for me there. I post there every day. And I'll talk to you later.